as we head into our Saturday morning for some places. So enjoy this, bask in the warmth, in those 70s in the south. And this cold air gets in as we get into our Friday and Saturday, and it will get all the way down into South Florida. Your highs will be in the 70s. It'll be fantastic. 5 to 15 below for us this weekend. And tomorrow you can kind of see it sneaking over the border, but Friday's really when it starts getting into the Midwest. I mean, you're going to drop from the 70s to the 50s here in Atlanta. Saturday morning, this does not account for the wind chill. So expect below zero temperatures, like 10, 15 below in the upper Midwest and also parts of the Northeast. But the 30s freezing all the way down to the I-20 corridor for us. Saturday, we're still on the chilly side, but we will see a rebound, Lynette, as we head into the middle of next week. This is going to be the coldest we've felt so far in New York.
I like when you said rebound.
That's right. What a difference. It's a case of the have and the have-nots, and basically the haves have had lake effect and the have-nots have not. This has not been a synoptic scale winter so far,
right,
if you will.
Yeah, I mean, you can really tell by the I-95 corridor not getting anything at all in through here. But, you know, we're not that far behind. I mean, there's usually not a super blockbuster. You know, February is kind of the big month up and through here for coastal storms. So we still got some time. But Erie...
Over 3 feet above.
Twice
Tuck
there.
Hill Plateau, you know, Watertown, a lot of those areas that just got hit from the lakes. And
which
when
are
it
wide
comes
open,
to lakes,
by the way.
Yeah, they're wide open. Now, listen, they had record warmth, but we still need a few more batches of cold air. We're about average here. I don't think people understand how late in the season it takes for these to really freeze over. It's more of a February, March kind of thing.
Yeah, as it warms in the south,
is when
it's still freezing the lakes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy. So we still got 40, 50 degree water temperatures out there. Plenty warm enough. I didn't get a chance to check the lake ice, but it's not much.
No.
Less than 10%. Way less than 10%. 3.3 in Green Bay. That's all we had.
That graphic was like 1.5%.
Exactly, way less than 10%. 4 inches in Milwaukee and 3, so we're down 4 inches. But look at Abrams. You know what's interesting is look at Marquette versus Sault Ste. Marie.
I know. It's all about the angle.
The trajectory off the lake, right?
It's all about the angle.
More northwest flow is what we have. And here's a good example of that with all the numbers. Season normals are up there.
I think this is a lot of numbers to look at. So real quick, this is what we've had.
Yep.
This is what we typically have to this date. So essentially, we're below here in Marquette, as we showed you. Sault Ste. Marie, way above. Gaylord,
like over double.
Way above. And into Traverse City, way above where we should be.
Northwest flow.
Yeah, I'll just make
more north flow from Marquette. We haven't had that. It's been more of a northwest flow situation. And boy, hasn't it. You get the double lake situation in Erie. Absolutely crushed, more than double their snowfall for this time of the year. Syracuse, not as much, but same kind of thing you're talking about, Steph.
Watertown, 37. We typically
normal.
Are at 22. So we're above for that. Buffalo, we're below. We talked about Erie. And then Cleveland, you know, we've only had 6.9. We typically have 10 by now, so we are running a little below there.
So, yeah,
Cleveland.
But the north towns, Ashtabula,
they got hit.
Crushed.
It's all about the angle and the
crushed.
fetch.
So here's Erie, season date 60 inches, December snowfall 23, so 2 feet.
This is what's crazy to me. Last
that was their record season.
We only had 2 feet. We've had that just for December. So that kind of blew my mind with that.
Crazy stuff. This was their record year, 2017, 2018. And even that year, season to date, look at the difference. Now, that doesn't mean we set a record this year because you have to keep going. But still, I mean, if you're going to set a record, that's a pretty good way to start.
December total was 93.8 inches. We're a little behind that.
I know that big Christmas Day storm.
Yeah. Well, that was a big one. It
was a huge, crippling storm on Christmas Day. 10.5 in Duluth. That's it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, listen, we're below average because we haven't had those big synoptic scale low pressures coming through.
So we got a little bit more lake effect snow coming behind this next system, but
it's not going to be huge.
It's not going to be a huge event. We've had 3 major events so far this year. Lynette, over to you.
All right, guys, let's talk about the roller coaster ride.
Because that cools the centuries. And so we've come to the conclusion that it's a mixture of the two, right? That we've decided it is a little advection, little
compromise
radiation.
is a beautiful thing, isn't it?
It is. Because, I mean, look, this is yesterday. You can see that fog moving over the causeway there. And things have been improving through the morning hours. But, you know, what's going on here is that you have warm, moist air going over a relatively cooler lake. It doesn't have to be a lake. It can be the ground, like in Atlanta. You have a cooler ground, and it's cooling right before the sun rises, but you have this warm, moist air that has been evected over it. The winds drop, and then it's kind of a radiation process. So there's a lot going on in the atmosphere. And listen, it's not easy to explain and articulate and do the mathematics behind it. But all that matters to you is that we've got terrible fog out there, and that can be deadly. It can be very deadly, in fact. We lose 600 people. People die because of fog. So keep that in mind as you're out there this morning, anywhere from Texas to Atlanta, where things are improving in Atlanta as well. We were at 1/8 of a mile before. Houston was 1/16. We'll check on that in just a minute. But we're still at 1/8 here in Atlanta. And let me tell you, the fog's going to dissipate fairly quickly as that sun's coming up and warms everything and mixes everything out. That will certainly improve. The Carolinas, we've also had really terrible fog. Visibility is still 0 at the airport, but I mean like that, all of a sudden it just poof, be gone. Delayed departure is about 15 minutes, so we're okay. Houston, we're still at 1/16 of a mile. And don't forget, one of the reasons you have it close to these coastal areas is you can have the colder ground, but then you have this warm, moist air that is there kind of juicing up the atmosphere. And so that's why you can get that fog, especially around this area. Don't forget the mountains in the northeast, because if you have snow on the ground and then you advect warm, moist air over it, that's what most people think when they think advection fog, you get fog. So maybe, Lynette, we'll have to break down all the different types of fog and talk in more detail about it.
So many types of fog, though, for sure.
I think you really want kind of like a Miller A situation. That's a Miller B. You're talking about Miller A and B.
Yes, I would like a Miller A.
A Miller A going up the coast here.
A case of them, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, let's have a look at our temperatures, because you need cold air for Miller A or Miller B to happen here. And we are on ice here into Canada. This air mass is going to unleash on the lower 48. But notice our temperatures near 80 degrees in Tallahassee. We will see the warm temperatures today. You might have to switch back to the air conditioning if you've had that heat on, but it's going to be hot. 15 degrees above average today. And we will see that system pull through that Jim was mentioning, that clipper that he was wish casting about. And then we are going to see the cold air come in behind it. As he mentioned, it's not going to be, in conjunction completely with that. We will see 5 to 15 degrees below average all the way down to South Florida, where temperatures will be in the 70s. Tomorrow, again, not too bad, but much colder. You see highs in the 50s, same on Friday. But Friday, you really see that north wind come in. Notice Saturday morning, and now this does not account for the wind chill as well. And wind chills are going to be below 0 for us Friday into Saturday. Saturday afternoon, we're on the chilly side, the 50s all the way down to the Gulf Coast for us here. And again, all the way down into Florida, you are going to get that chill. Notice New York, the coldest high we've had is 33. We are certainly going to be colder than that. Our low, 26. We're going to be colder than that. So this is the coldest air of the season for places like New York. In Atlanta, we hold on to the chill until our Monday, but don't worry, there is a rebound coming before we get into Christmas. So Christmas week, it's not feeling very Christmassy for those of you who are used to having those colder temperatures. For us who were born and raised in Florida, we don't associate necessarily cold air with Christmas because it's warm. You decorate the palm trees, and it's very different.
It is. I wish it was cold in Atlanta just for Christmas, and then.
Well, the visibility is still garbage here in Columbia, South Carolina, and Atlanta, Georgia. We were down to 1/8 of a mile. Thanks for sticking with us here on America's Morning Headquarters. This fog has been dangerous, in fact, causing a pileup yesterday on the bridge that goes over Lake Pontchartrain in New Orleans. But notice that it's gotten maybe slightly better in some of these areas, but it's going to quickly get better, I will say, Lynette, as we head over the next couple of hours, because things are going to warm, and that means that this is all going to dissipate.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. But in the meantime, boy, are we really